I was already behind schedule. Traffic just outside Riyadh crawled at a snail's pace as the sun dipped into the horizon. My shirt stuck to my back, damp from a mix of sweat and nerves. I kept stealing glances at the box in the passenger seat, a bottle of vintage perfume her mother adored. My peace offering in a crystal bottle. Tonight was important. I was finally meeting her parents, the same ones who own 3 luxury hotels, 2 yachts, and 1 daughter who happened to wear my engagement ring. Then I noticed him. A thin, frail man with sunken cheeks and a cane, trying to flag down passing cars. No one gave him a second look. I don't know why I did. Maybe guilt. Maybe fate. Either way, I pulled over and rolled down the window. "You okay, uncle?" He squinted behind thick glasses, his voice trembling. "My driver, heart attack. I need to get to a villa on Al Rashid Road. My daughter's waiting for me." I paused. That address was 20 minutes in the opposite direction. But something in his eyes, a mix of urgency and quiet pride, made me say it. "Hop in." He thanked me 4 times before we even reached the gates. 2 marble lions guarded the driveway. A row of black Range Rovers gleamed under spotlights like showroom pieces. The villa looked more like a royal estate. Pillars, fountains, manicured gardens, and more staff than I could count. But when I stepped through the grand entrance, I froze. Standing at the top of the sweeping staircase in a flowing green dress and heels she once told me she never wore, was my fiancé. And beside her? The very man I had just driven there. Not the schoolteacher from Al-Khobar she claimed had died years ago. Not the tragic story of her mother passing during childbirth. No. This was no misunderstanding. This was theater. She spotted me, went rigid, forced a smile. "Darling." I turned to the elderly man, and it hit me like a punch to the gut. I hadn't just helped a stranger. I had unknowingly delivered her real father to his mansion. She never intended for me to see this world. She wanted to keep me on the outside. To them, I was a project. A humble, hard-working man who didn't belong in their polished, pretentious lives. And I stood there as they all kept up the act. Opulence wrapped around a web of lies. That night, she cried. Said it was complicated. Claimed I was the only real thing in her world of masks and poison. I asked her one question, why hide all this? Her answer? Because if you knew how wealthy we were, you would have treated me differently. And right then, I understood. She never truly loved me, not the person I was. I had been a thrill, a rebellion, something wild to make her feel alive. Until I wasn't necessary anymore. 2 days later, I found her by the pool at the villa with Sammy, the family's business associate. Twice divorced, always flaunting designer suits. I recognized his loafers sitting by the lounge chair. His hand traced her collarbone while they laughed. She didn't see me. But I saw enough. I didn't argue. Didn't cause a scene. I simply smiled. That was the moment I stopped loving her and started watching her. I moved back into my apartment. Told her I needed time to think. She agreed, too easily. While she posted filtered photos with luxury handbags online, I got to work. First came the lawyer. I learned her father's company was neck-deep in shady partnerships, offshore properties, and questionable tax shelters. Then I hired a private forensic accounting firm. I drained my savings to fund it, but what they uncovered was worth every cent. Shell corporations. Secret accounts. And most importantly, financial fraud directly linked to Sammy. Next came the leaks. Anonymous tips to journalists. Screenshots, voice recordings, confidential documents, all delivered under aliases. I timed it for maximum impact. On the night of her father's birthday celebration, the same one I was specifically uninvited from, everyone who mattered was present. Politicians, shareholders, family friends. She wore white, standing center stage as always. And then the media firestorm hit. Breaking news across Al Arabiya, Sky News, and Twitter. Sammy Al-Nasser under investigation for corporate fraud involving Al Hakim Holdings. Phones buzzed. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Her father stood, face pale. Who did this? That was my cue. I walked in, unannounced, without apology. She turned, stunned silent. I approached her father and handed over a folder. All the evidence you need. Dates, numbers, images, I said, calm and direct. His hands shook as he flipped through the documents. The room went dead silent. Across the hall, I locked eyes with Sammy. He didn't panic, he understood. This wasn't gossip. It was an execution. I didn't stick around for the aftermath. Left before the yelling started. 2 days later, her father resigned as CEO. 3 board members were arrested. Sammy vanished. Rumors said he escaped to Dubai. International warrants followed. And her? She showed up at my door. No makeup. No stilettos. None of that smug confidence. Just a broken girl stripped of everything. I didn't know it would cost me this much, she whispered. I looked at her without a word. Can you ever forgive me? She asked. I smiled. And closed the door. That was a year ago. Now, I work for the very firm that investigated her family. They offered me a position after seeing how well I understood people like them. Every morning, I drink the same brand of coffee. But now, it tastes different. Richer. Because I didn't just get revenge, I gave them exactly what they gave me. The feeling of being exposed. Small. Disposable. And the best part? It all began the moment I chose to pull over and help an old man. Turns out, fate doesn't forget. It just waits for the right driver. And I never miss a turn.